You know, you mentioned, the molestation part. Is that hard for a big, strong, tough guy to mention that stuff? I've had a few guests on here. Most recently, John Joseph, who I'm doing this Ironman race with, and he's a tough, hardcore punk lead singer. And he said it took him years to physically write in his book about, being molested. And he said it was the hardest thing to do, but also the greatest thing he did because it was really freeing.
Yeah.
Do you think about that?
Yeah. No, not when I came to grips about writing. So I was given, I don't know how, and it's just, things happen, right? Things just happen. They align and they're meant to happen. We have choices that we can alter them, but things happen. Everything that you've done to get you here, got you here to the person you are, to be able to do what you do. So I was just offered this book deal. This guy, I was at an event, a global event, and this guy walked by and he goes, wow, you should have this phone number, 1-800-BIG-GUNS. I'm like, yeah, I've had a dime for every time I heard that, beat it. And he goes, no, you ever think about writing a book? I'm like, why? I go, who are you? He goes, and he goes, let me know when you want to write a book. Kept bugging me, like every 3 months for 2 years. You ready to write a book? I'm like, so I asked my friend, I go, what should I do? And he goes, don't do it. Don't write it. And his closest friend, his name is Robin Chain. He's like, don't write it. I'm like, why? And he goes, because unless you're going to be honest and tell the truth, don't write it. I go, but Robin, you know me. You know the things I've done. I'm not going to. He goes, don't write it. I go, why? They're offering me money. I'm going to just take the money and run. He goes, for every country that you've been in, that you've done something, you're going to lose those people. You're going to lose that connection because you lied. And everyone that you've done something with in the dark, that's all you have, Flex, is your name. You're going to lose it. So it took me a long time. And finally, when I got sick and diagnosed with my kidney disease, and then I start going back to reading the Bible and everything, and then realizing every last great person in the Bible done something horrific other than Jesus, done something horrific. And I'm like, wow, I never got that, and these are great men who were wrote about biblically, but done. So, okay, maybe I'm okay then. I have a chance of being decent, So as soon as I made that, I'm like, I already knew that I just had to tell everything. And from those different stories that I wrote biblically, I could relate to them. So I knew immediately that I had to talk about what I'd done and what I'd been through, because there's people out there that don't have my platform. They're still in the ghetto. They're still going through it. And if I share my story, maybe they can just maybe I can make it. He went through the same thing I did, and look at maybe. So I knew I had to immediately. And once that happened, it wasn't difficult. Probably the most difficult thing is my ghostwriter, who I had to sit down and do all these interviews with. It was reliving it, and that was probably the hardest part. And it was even times where she said, "I need a break. I'll call you back in a few months," because it would just, it was hard for her, to deal with it. So that was probably the hardest part, is reliving it. But I knew I had to. It wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant because I was brutally honest about everything I've ever done. It wasn't pleasant, but I don't know. I just always been that type of person, all in or all out. And I knew that was the only way I was going to help people.